There comes a moment when you realize not everything deserves your reaction, not every rumor, not every shade, not every disappointment, not every delay. You reach a point where peace means more than proving a point, and your focus becomes stronger than your feelings. That's when you start training yourself to be unbothered. Being unbothered isn't about being cold or careless. It's not pretending things don't hurt or people don't disappoint you. It's about mastering your emotions so they don't master you. It's about choosing calm over chaos, response over reaction, purpose over pettiness. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control what happens within you, and that control, that stillness is power. There will always be things designed to distract you. People will test your patience, circumstances will shake your peace, and life will try to pull you into drama you didn't audition for. But when you're trained to be unbothered, you move differently. You stop giving access to anything that disturbs your energy. You stop letting small things pull you out of position. You start realizing that silence can be an answer and peace can be your revenge. Training yourself to be unbothered doesn't happen overnight. It's a discipline, a decision you have to make every single day. When someone throws negativity your way, you take a breath instead of taking offense. When something doesn't go as planned, you pause instead of panicking. When people misjudge your intentions, you stop explaining and start evolving. Every time you choose peace instead of reaction, you're building emotional strength. You're teaching yourself that your worth isn't tied to approval, and your power isn't found in reaction. It's found in restraint. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove your character to those committed to misunderstanding it. You don't have to defend your peace to people who thrive on chaos. The moment you understand that peace is your priority, you stop chasing closure and start choosing calm, because not everything that demands your attention deserves it. Being unbothered doesn't mean you're detached. It means you're disciplined. You've learned to pause before responding, to think before speaking, and to protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. You've learned that maturity isn't loud, it's quiet. It's that deep breath before reacting, that silent prayer before speaking, that soft smile that says, I see it, but it no longer controls me. So when life throws noise your way, stay steady. When people try to provoke you, stay centered. When circumstances shift, stay grounded. You've come too far to let small things pull you backward. You've worked too hard to let temporary people or fleeting emotions steal your permanent peace. Train yourself to be unbothered, not because you don't care, but because you finally do. You care too much about your purpose, your growth, and your peace to hand them over to anything that doesn't deserve them. The strongest version of you isn't the one that claps back, it's the one that doesn't have to. Because when you're truly unbothered, you don't react. You rise. Not everything deserves your reaction. Life will constantly give you opportunities to respond, to defend yourself, to argue, to prove your point. And every time you take that bait, you give away a piece of your peace. The truth is, not every situation is worthy of your energy. Some things are designed to distract you more than they are meant to develop you. When you learn to pause before reacting, to breathe before responding, you reclaim your power, because reaction is easy. Anyone can react. But it takes discipline to remain calm when everything around you is demanding a reaction. That's the kind of strength that separates peacekeepers from chaos chasers. There's a difference between caring and carrying. You can care about what's happening without carrying the weight of it. You can acknowledge pain, frustration, or disappointment without allowing it to dictate your peace. Training yourself not to react to everything doesn't mean you're indifferent. It means you're intentional. You start recognizing that not every battle is yours to fight, not every comment deserves an answer, and not every situation requires your presence. The moment you understand that, you begin protecting your peace like the priceless treasure it is. When you react to everything, you live in constant emotional motion. You're always being pulled by people's opinions, by life's uncertainties, by things that don't even belong to you. But when you learn to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion, everything changes. You gain control of your energy. You learn how to let people say what they want without letting it shake who you are. You stop chasing closure and start choosing calm. You stop trying to be understood and start understanding yourself. Being unbothered doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply but choose peace anyway. It's the quiet strength that whispers, I could respond, but I don't need to. It's realizing that silence can be louder than shouting, and stillness can be stronger than confrontation. There's a sacred kind of power in not giving every situation access to your emotions. You don't have to prove your worth through arguments or explanations. You don't have to match anyone's energy just because they're loud. When you rise above reaction, you create space for wisdom, clarity, and growth. Training yourself not to react to everything also teaches patience. You learn that timing matters, and sometimes silence speaks in ways words never could. You begin to see that everything doesn't need to be fixed immediately, and that peace often comes from letting things unfold naturally. The things that once triggered you no longer touch you the same way because you've outgrown the need to fight every battle. You realize that your energy is too valuable to waste on things that don't move you forward. There's power in restraint. It's not about ignoring what's wrong. It's about choosing what's right for your soul. When you stop reacting to everything, you make room for peace to lead you instead of emotion. You discover that calm is not a weakness but a weapon, and the more you practice it, the more unshakable you become. Because when you stop giving small things big reactions, you start living from purpose instead of pressure. Not everything deserves your reaction, because not everything is meant to touch the version of you that's still growing. The stronger you become, the quieter you'll stay, and the more peace you'll keep. Peace means more than proving a point. There comes a time in life when you have to decide what's more valuable, being right or being at peace. Because the truth is, not every argument is worth your energy, not every misunderstanding deserves your explanation, and not every situation needs you to have the last word. When you chase the need to be right, you stay tangled in chaos. But when you choose peace, you rise above it. Peace doesn't mean you're weak or that you've given up. It means you're wise enough to know that your calm is more important than your correctness. When you focus on proving a point, you invite more noise into your life. You try to make people see your side, understand your heart, or respect your boundaries, and sometimes they still won't. You could pour out your truth and they'd still twist it. You could explain yourself 10 different ways and they'd still hear what they want to hear. That's when you realize peace has to become the goal, because peace doesn't require agreement. It only requires awareness. You become aware of what's worth engaging in and what's better left alone. You stop trying to win arguments and start winning your inner calm. Peace is power because it keeps you from being controlled by outside forces. When you no longer need to prove anything, you become untouchable. People can talk, but it won't shake you. They can misjudge you, but it won't move you. They can walk away and you'll still stand strong. That's what peace does. It anchors you in stability. You no longer need validation to feel valuable. You no longer chase understanding from those who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop performing for approval and start prioritizing your serenity. Sometimes silence is your best response, not because you don't have something to say, but because you understand that saying it would cost you peace you can't afford to lose. Every time you walk away instead of reacting, you protect your growth. Every time you choose calm over conflict, you strengthen your discipline. And every time you refuse to prove a point, you remind yourself that maturity isn't about being louder, it's about being wiser. The version of you that needs to be right is loud. The version of you that's healed is quiet. It's easy to get caught up in the need to be understood. You want people to know your intentions, to see your heart, to recognize that you meant well. But peace whispers, you don't need to convince anyone of what time will reveal. What's real will always surface, and what's false will always fade. Peace teaches you patience. It teaches you to stop chasing explanations and start trusting outcomes. When you prioritize peace, you stop fighting battles that don't build you. You stop arguing with people who only listen to respond, not to understand. Peace is not passive, it's a decision. It's saying, I value my calm more than I value control. It's understanding that sometimes the best way to win is to walk away. You don't have to prove who you are when your life is already showing it. The results of your growth, the maturity in your response, and the peace in your presence speak louder than any point you could make. So instead of arguing to be understood, rest in the truth that peace always speaks for itself. Because when your peace becomes your priority, no one's chaos can pull you out of character. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control what happens within you. Life has a way of throwing storms your direction, of shaking what feels stable and testing what feels sure. But strength isn't about controlling the wind, it's about controlling your response to it. You can't stop people from gossiping, circumstances from shifting, or challenges from showing up at your door. But you can decide that their chaos won't disturb your core. You can decide that your emotions, your peace, and your mindset are not up for negotiation. That's where true power lies, in the space between what happens and how you respond. Every situation that feels out of control is an invitation to anchor yourself deeper. The world will pull you in 1,000 directions, but you get to choose which direction your soul moves in. You get to decide whether you're going to react from fear or respond from faith in your own strength. You don't need the world to calm down for you to feel calm. You need to build that calm within you. The moment you stop waiting for external peace and start cultivating internal control, you become unstoppable. Because when you are grounded from the inside, no storm can uproot you from the outside. It's easy to let emotions take over when things don't go the way you planned. The frustration, the disappointment, the pressure, it all feels heavy, but your emotions are not your enemy. They're signals, not steering wheels. You acknowledge them, but you don't let them drive you. You feel them, but you don't let them define you. That's how you take your power back. You stop reacting out of impulse and start responding out of intention. You remind yourself that while you can't control the situation, you can control the story you tell yourself about it. You can choose perspective, and that perspective shapes everything. The truth is, peace isn't found in a perfect environment. It's created in a stable heart. When you're in control of your thoughts and grounded in who you are, you don't get easily shaken by what's happening outside of you. The noise gets louder, but you get quieter. The world speeds up, but you slow down. You become aware of how much energy you used to waste trying to control what was never yours to manage. That's when peace starts to expand within you, when you stop chasing control over everything around you and focus on the only thing you were ever meant to master, yourself. Being in control of your inner world means learning when to let go. Some things are better released than wrestled with. Some battles are not lost. They are simply no longer worth fighting. When you stop resisting what you can't control, you create room for peace to do what pressure never could. You find stillness even in uncertainty, clarity even in confusion. You stop needing closure from others and start finding it within yourself. That's what emotional maturity looks like, knowing that your peace doesn't depend on their apology, their approval, or the outcome. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you're rewriting your story. You're teaching your mind that peace is possible, even when life isn't perfect. You can't change the storms that come, but you can learn how to dance in the rain without losing your rhythm. The world will keep testing your boundaries, but you'll keep proving that your peace is not for sale. Because control isn't about holding everything together. It's about holding yourself together no matter what falls apart. And when you master that, you become untouchable. People will test your patience, challenge your peace, and sometimes do everything they can to pull you out of character. It's not always intentional, but it's inevitable. The world is full of energy that will clash with yours, and not everyone you meet is operating from a place of healing or self-awareness. Some people project their pain because it's the only language they know. Some situations are meant to stretch you, not destroy you. That's why being unbothered isn't about ignoring people. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that no one else can control how you move. When you encounter people who provoke you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself or prove a point. But you start realizing over time that not every reaction is worth the cost of your peace. The moment you let anger, frustration, or offense dictate your behavior, you hand over your power. Every time you let someone pull you into their chaos, you're letting them distract you from your purpose. But when you pause instead of reacting, when you breathe instead of breaking, you're reclaiming your authority over your own emotions. That's when you start moving from reaction to intention. There's a kind of strength that comes from not matching the energy that's sent your way. You begin to understand that peace isn't found in the absence of conflict, it's found in the presence of control. You can't stop people from testing you, but you can train yourself not to respond to everything that threatens your calm. The more you mature, the more you realize that silence is sometimes louder than words, and walking away is sometimes stronger than staying to fight. You're not being passive, you're being powerful. You're choosing not to give small things a big stage. There will be moments when your silence is misunderstood, when your calm is seen as weakness, but that's okay. The people who thrive on drama will never understand the peace you're protecting. They're addicted to reaction, but you've learned to stay rooted. You've learned that it's not your job to correct every lie or confront every opinion. Some things are better left unanswered, because while they're busy trying to provoke you, you're busy growing. While they're watching for a reaction, you're building resilience. And the best revenge to anyone who tries to pull you down is to stay focused and rise higher. Life will keep sending tests disguised as people and problems, but each time you refuse to react, you're proving that you've learned the lesson. The lesson that peace is worth protecting, that your energy is sacred, that you don't have to attend every battle that calls your name. You'll start noticing how light your spirit feels when you no longer allow negativity to dictate your day. You'll notice how clear your thoughts become when you stop rehearsing what they did and start refocusing on what you're building. That's the gift of being unbothered. It gives you back your clarity, your focus, your strength. There's a beauty in emotional discipline. It's not that things don't affect you. It's that they no longer control you. You see the situation, you feel the emotion, but you don't let it steer your direction. You've learned that your response is your responsibility, and you refuse to give anyone else the power to disturb your inner peace. The world may not change overnight, but you do. And when you change, your experience of the world changes too. People can still test you, but you've already passed the hardest exam. Learning to stay calm in chaos, that's not weakness, that's wisdom wrapped in strength. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Some invitations are traps disguised as conversations, designed to pull you into a space where peace doesn't live. Every time someone tries to provoke you, they're really asking for your energy. Every time someone brings you negativity, they're testing your boundaries. And you have a choice to show up and defend yourself, or to protect your peace and stay silent. There's freedom in realizing that not every battle deserves your presence. When you start valuing your time, your mental health, and your energy, you stop showing up to places that drain you more than they develop you. People will try to pull you into their chaos because they can't handle your calm. They'll argue to distract you, criticize to weaken you, and gossip to pull your attention away from what actually matters. But you have to remember that your silence doesn't make you powerless. It makes you wise. You don't need to respond to everything that challenges you. Sometimes walking away is the loudest answer. The moment you stop defending yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, you free yourself from the endless cycle of emotional exhaustion. Some people don't want clarity, they want control. But when you choose not to engage, you take that control away from them. Not attending every argument is an act of strength, not avoidance. It's a decision that says, my peace is worth more than my pride. It's knowing that your energy is sacred and you refuse to waste it proving something to people who are not listening to understand. The truth doesn't need to scream to be real, and your worth doesn't need to be proven in a debate. When you stop feeling the need to explain yourself in every situation, you start to experience what real freedom feels like. You begin to trust that the right people already know your heart, and the wrong people wouldn't believe you anyway. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It's the awareness that your energy is better spent creating than reacting, building than battling. You start realizing that every argument comes with a cost, and sometimes that cost is too high. You lose focus, you lose peace, you lose hours replaying conversations that didn't need to happen. But when you start declining invitations to drama, you gain so much more. You gain clarity, strength, and self-respect. You learn that your peace doesn't need to be defended, it just needs to be protected. The power of not attending every argument is that you start controlling the narrative of your own life. You decide what deserves your voice and what doesn't. You start realizing that peace is not passive, it's powerful, because every time you choose silence over chaos, you're not giving up the fight, you're choosing a higher battlefield. You're saying, I'm not here to prove, I'm here to grow. And growth requires focus, not friction. It takes maturity to let people think what they want while you stay focused on becoming who you're meant to be. It takes wisdom to understand that not every battle needs to be fought and that not every opponent deserves a response. The moment you stop needing to win every argument, you start winning your life back. You start noticing that peace feels better than being right. You start valuing quiet more than validation, because at the end of the day, the one who walks away in peace always walks away in power. You don't have to attend every argument. You're invited to. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. The strongest version of you isn't the one that reacts. It's the one that stays still when everything around you is trying to provoke a response. It's easy to match energy, to clap back, to defend yourself when someone questions your worth or challenges your peace. But strength isn't in the noise, it's in the calm. The strongest version of you doesn't need to explain, prove, or perform. It simply stands tall in truth, in peace, and in power. You've learned that silence is not weakness but wisdom, that restraint is not surrender but strength. The more you grow, the more you understand that your reaction doesn't validate you. Your peace does. You start realizing that power is not about showing everyone how strong you are. It's about knowing you don't have to. The version of you that used to fight for attention now protects your energy. The version of you that once chased approval now values alignment. You stop trying to convince people of your worth and start living like you already know it. That's where real power lies, in knowing who you are so deeply that no one's opinion can shake it. You're no longer moved by what used to trigger you because you've outgrown the need to respond to every challenge. You've learned that maturity is quiet, confidence is calm, and peace is power. Being strong doesn't mean being unfeeling. It means you've learned how to process your emotions without being controlled by them. It's having the self-awareness to say, I'm hurt, but I won't let this define me. I'm disappointed, but I'll still move forward. Strength is grace under pressure. It's choosing dignity over drama, peace over pride, stillness over shouting. The strongest version of you doesn't need to prove strength through reaction. You prove it through restraint, because real strength isn't loud, it's steady. It's the ability to stay centered while everything around you is shaking. When you no longer react, you start to rise. You start realizing that peace is a higher frequency than chaos, and not everyone is ready to operate there. People may misunderstand your silence, think your calm is weakness or your distance is arrogance, but you've learned that it's not your job to be understood. It's your job to protect your growth. You can love people from afar, forgive them without re-engaging, and wish them well without welcoming them back into your peace. That's not coldness, that's control. It's learning that not every connection is meant to continue, and not every conflict is meant to be confronted. There's a power that comes from choosing calm when chaos is calling. You start noticing that the world moves slower when you do. Your thoughts get clearer, your emotions get quieter, and your energy becomes more focused. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You begin to move with purpose, speak with wisdom, and act with clarity. Every time you choose not to respond to negativity, you prove to yourself that your peace is stronger than your pride. And that is what unbothered strength truly looks like. It's not the absence of challenge, it's the mastery of self. The strongest version of you is not the one fighting to be seen. It's the one so grounded that even when unseen, you still shine. You don't need validation to confirm your worth, applause to confirm your progress, or approval to confirm your direction. You've learned that your peace is your proof. You've learned that being unbothered is not about ignoring life, it's about rising above it. And when you rise above it, you stop reacting to what's beneath you. That's the quiet power of growth, the ability to stand in peace, no matter the storm, knowing that nothing can shake what's been strengthened within you.